In this video, I'm going to share with you how to 2.5 times your net cash flow. That's the amount you're sticking in your pocket after all your expenses on a monthly basis on a single short-term rental, just from changing up a few systems around the way you manage your properties. So after you see the dramatic difference that this makes here, I think you're probably going to want to change up some of your processes. All right, so conventional rental property investing advice is to hire a property manager. And when it comes to long-term rentals, I actually agree with this advice. I think, the going rate for a long-term rental property manager is around 8 to 10%. And so for you to think that you can, have more efficiencies than a long-term rental property manager, a really good one, and save that 8 to 10%, it's a pretty small amount. And so you're probably not going to beat that by doing it yourself. However, when it comes to short-term rental property managers, the going rate is actually 25%. It's somewhere between 20 and 30% typically. So I want to compare, I'm going to show you how that works out if you use a short-term rental property manager compared to the same property without the short-term rental property manager, because it's actually not costing you 25%. It's actually costing you 2.5 times what you would actually make. So how does that play out? How is it 2.5 times? Well, let's look at this scenario of a typical short-term rental, a pretty affordable short-term rental that brings in on average about $6,000 per month. This is a very doable scenario. So if you're looking at the property management fee of an average of 25%, that's $1,500 right off the top. So that comes off the gross income before you pay any other expenses. Then after that, you're going to pay all your other expenses. So you're going to pay for your mortgage, you're going to pay for your taxes, insurance, the cleaning people. That's not included in the property management fee. You're paying all these other costs after the property management fee. If the other costs are $3,500, which, that's a pretty reasonable scenario, that leaves you with about $1,000 of net cash flow that's left over after all your expenses. So in that case, if you want to scale this and get to a point of financial freedom, say you want to earn $100,000 a year of net cash flow, you're going to need to have 10 properties. And so, $1,000 a month per property, you're making $100,000 a year. So let's look at that same scenario without the property manager in place. So you're still making the $6,000 and you still have the exact same other expenses. There's nothing else that changes there. You're still paying your handyman, you're still paying your cleaners, your financing. So now you're left with $2,500 a month of net cash flow. So literally it's 2.5 times what's left over, because all we should care about is the net cash flow. The gross income before expenses is pretty irrelevant because that doesn't have anything to do with what you can put in your pocket at the end of the day. And that's what you can pay your own personal mortgage with. That's what you can pay for your groceries with. All your monthly personal expenses are paid out of the net cash flow, which is at the bottom here, that $2,500. So now let's look at if we scale that to 10 properties, now we're making $25,000 per month or $250,000 a year, which is a massive difference once you start to scale. Most people can live off $100,000. Almost everybody could figure out a way to live off $250,000 a year. And so then at that point, the argument might come up that, well, yeah, but now you've got 10 properties to manage yourself. Well, what if you were to hire somebody for $50,000 that's full-time, that can do all the guest relations, they can do all the bookings, they can line up the cleaners for you, do all of the day-to-day activities? That's still a pretty good income for them for managing 10 properties, which is pretty simple. You're not changing your cleaning costs or your handyman fees. Somebody else is taking care of that already. That's part of that $3,500. And so you're still left with double the income by doing that. So who are the two key people that we hire to handle all these tasks? Because just by putting in a few key systems, you can sort of skip that level of the property manager and go right directly to the people who are the boots on the ground that are going to handle all of the day-to-day activities. Because I don't recommend you go out there and start cleaning your property or doing the handyman stuff. That's probably not the best use of your time. But instead, you can put in place two key people. So the first one is a handyman, or what we refer to a lot of times as a utility person. So they kind of go beyond just a traditional handyman, and they'll do the traditional handyman stuff like touch-ups between guests. They can handle on-call maintenance issues, but then they can also be somebody who's local who can go fix Wi-Fi problems if somebody can't figure out the Wi-Fi or there's some issue with that. On a Friday night, if you have a elderly couple checking in that can't figure out the digital lock on your door, not that that's ever happened to me, they can go over and assist to help get them access. They can be the first point of contact if an emergency happens. They can do the landscaping, snow removal. You could have other people as well, but a lot of times you can find a utility person that you just pay them per task, and it's really cost efficient, and it saves you a ton of time of having to ever be at that property. The other person is a cleaner or a cleaner plus, because a lot of times, again, their job goes a little bit beyond their traditional cleaning. So they're going to clean between guests, but then also while they're there, they can inventory track in your supply closet. So you can have a supply closet with a checklist for inventory items, which we have that checklist. You can download it at the link in the comments below or in the description below. They do biannual deep cleanings for you. They can go buy and restock the supply closet. So now we have a head cleaner, and we pay her extra to do these supply runs, so we don't have to do that. I used to be the one driving to Costco and Aldi and the dollar store to try to buy in bulk at cheaper prices, and then I'd go deliver all the products. Now we have a head cleaner who's responsible for that, and they can leave a personalized note and inspect for damages. So everything that can come up between guests or while a guest is staying there is assigned to one of these two individuals to do all of the boots on the ground activities so that you never have to actually be at that property physically. So if you're interested in any of the checklists that I mentioned, the checklist for our cleaner, our inventory checklist, our checklist for the furnishings that we put into our short-term rentals, you can download those at the link in the description. I also now work with people through this entire process of setting up systems around the most efficient way to manage their property so that they make the most amount of money with the least amount of time. I also walk them through the process of how to find a property, what type of market makes the most sense, what type of property is going to produce the highest income, how to actually get a property under contract, what type of financing to use, how to set up the property so that it brings in the highest dollar amount. So if you're interested in working with me through that entire system, you can go to livingoffrentals.com/call, and that will take you to a quick questionnaire, and then that'll give you access to my calendar. And you can book a time for us to jump on a Zoom call, and we can talk through your goals and see if it's a good fit to work personally together through this whole process. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit that like button. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.